There's been so much news today that I just felt the need to do another live show, and hopefully there'll be some folks here to help me work through all the therapy I'll need.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson with the AHSA Radio Network. That's me. Jimmy Stein with Bama Online. That's him, but he's not here tonight, and he will be here tomorrow. We'll cover all this again tomorrow, what I'm about to get into. But, been so much that has happened today. I mean, this is our fourth podcast in the last 24 hours, less than 24 hours. Is kind of bananas. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, by the way. I want to thank you everydayers for joining us every day, and today, several times a day. Want to get into a few things first of all. So we already know Bama's not in the playoffs. Okay, I've been on Twitter all day, just not making a case, just saying, hey, this is a bad precedent, and people still can't get what I'm saying about the scheduling. I want to be very clear about this. Alabama didn't necessarily deserve to be in the playoffs. SMU didn't either. Neither did Ole Miss or Miami. We expanded the playoffs. It's a bloated system. So now you're going to have teams that don't deserve it get in. Okay, my point was I just thought my team that didn't deserve it had the best record or best resume to get in. Now, the one thing that I think the committee did was send a message, your conference schedule doesn't matter. Who you beat doesn't really matter. Who you lose to doesn't really matter. It doesn't who you play doesn't matter. So my argument has been Alabama should cancel any and all tough upcoming non-conference games. I still believe that. And people keep saying, well, you didn't lose to your non-conference games. Your non-conference games, you lost in conference. But it is all part of a bigger picture. If you play tougher non-conference games like a game at Wisconsin, by the way, that Oregon only beat by 3. If you play a game against Ohio State, home and home like Alabama's got coming up, if you play a game like Notre Dame, home and home like you got coming up, like Florida State and Wisconsin both next year, Florida State and West Virginia the year after that, Oklahoma State, home and home. I could just go on and on. If you do all that and then you play your conference schedule, especially in this league, it's incredibly tough. So what I'm going to say is play the easiest schedule you can possibly play. I'm also going to say the SEC should not, under any circumstance, expand to non-conference games. That ship has sailed. I was for it for a little bit. I'm totally anti now. But all that being said, some other things have happened. Number one, Alabama is going to play Michigan in Tampa at the ReliaQuest Bowl or whatever. It's always going to be the Outback Bowl to me. And I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know what the mood's going to be. I don't know. I really don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this team reacts. My guess is Jalen Milroe will not play in that game. My guess is Jalen Milroe will declare for the draft and he will sit this out. And frankly, I think that's the best move for all parties. I love Jalen Milroe, but I think if he's not going to be back, I don't really necessarily need him playing in this game. I didn't feel that way so much about Bryce Young because Bryce Young is different. But I would like to see either Ty Simpson or whomever, Lonergan, Mack, whatever, get all the snaps in practices. I think you get 15 extra practices. Use them, and go over there and let him play a quality opponent. It's not the best opponent in the world, but they beat Ohio State. That's got to count for something. And Michigan may have more people invested in this than we do. They may look at it as a bigger deal. And hopefully that will end up being a positive game. It will also be an opportunity for Alabama to win that 10th ball game, which will be extend the double-digit win streak to something incredible. That would be awesome. So certainly want all that to happen. But I think the big news today, obviously, is some of the folks who've gotten into the transfer portal. And first and foremost, the first name we saw today was Caleb Odom. And Caleb Odom was a 5-star / high 4-star receiver, played with Juju Lewis in high school. And he's a really good player. At least he was in high school. I have not seen anything this year to make me think we must have him for next year. If I were giving him a grade, it would be incomplete. And I'm going to let Jimmy comment on that more tomorrow because I think he will certainly have more to say than I. But Caleb Odom, when he did have an opportunity earlier this year, I believe it was actually against Mercer, where there was a long, deep pass, and he just couldn't come up with it. It would have been a great catch. But I think it's the kind of catch that you need to make if you want to get on the field a little more. So I wish him well. I think we'll talk about Kendrick Law getting in the portal in the next segment. But I think that there's no reason to be mad at Caleb Odom for doing this. It didn't work out here. And one of the things that was a problem of the last 30 targets to wide receivers by Jalen Milroe, 29 of those were to Jeremy Bernard or Ryan Williams. And while that's great in the sense that I think Ryan Williams is still incredibly dynamic and just awesome, I also think Jeremy Bernard is great. But you got to spread it around a little more than that. Some other guys are open. And, we do know that Alabama has used the tight ends a little more. Tight end is important in the DeBoer offense. But I feel like we could have used some of these other wide receivers a little bit more. Kobe Prentice, who is already in the portal. So you got K-Law, Prentice, and Caleb Odom in the portal. And that's a lot of wide receivers. And considering we only signed 2, you've got to figure Alabama's going to go after some in the portal, some other ones in the portal. And the portal is beginning to get large, not just for Alabama. And it's going to work both ways. It's going to look worse here on the front end, and it's going to look a little better on the back end, I believe. But right now, it certainly is not looking great in terms of players leaving. And this won't be the end of it. There's going to be more getting in the portal for Alabama. Now, I want to talk about Kendrick Law getting in the portal when we come back, and then talk about maybe a couple of guys in the portal Alabama could target. I do want to tell you about Omaha Steaks, though, and I mean this sincerely. You guys need to go check out Omaha Steaks. It's awesome. I've got some kids that live in Ohio, and my father loves to send them Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now, you can save an unforgettable gift. You can save on an unforgettable gift with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com, plus score an extra $30 off with promo code college. With 5 generations of experience, they constantly deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easier to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. You need to go check out omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code college, and it's 50% off site-wide already. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code college. Minimum purchase may apply, but that ain't going to be a problem. You're going to buy a lot. Okay, so Kendrick Law also in the in the portal, and look, Kendrick Law, he's been plagued with every time he makes a big play, something bad immediately happens. His touchdown against Auburn in the Iron Bowl in 23 is called back for a ticky-tack hold. His great return in the South Florida game that really sort of helped kick off the second half, he makes it to the 50, he fumbles. It turns it right back over to South Florida. It just feels like he never could get a foothold, and I don't know why. But he couldn't, and I hate it for him. I thought he might be gump enough to stick around, and maybe he will. Maybe he will come out of the portal. Again, just because you go in the portal, and they aren't officially in the portal yet, but just because you go in the portal doesn't mean you won't come back out. I suspect he will be gone. I suspect Caleb Odom will be gone. I suspect Kobe Prentice will be gone. There's no doubt in my mind. But it doesn't mean that it can't happen. That being said, I'm seeing a lot of folks saying Milroe, is part of the problem against because of these receivers leaving. That may be the case. Maybe Milroe locks in on 2 receivers or running, or whatever. Maybe he does. And that could be an issue. So again, that does give me some pause to say all 3 of those receivers definitely will not be back. There is certainly an opportunity. And if you have a new quarterback, and maybe if Ty Simpson has a good rapport with any of these guys, that's something I'm going to ask Jimmy about tomorrow. Maybe something like that happens. But, somebody Jimmy and I have been talking about is another wide receiver in the portal named Kevin Concepcion, who is a great player from NC State. Love him. He was on my NCAA fantasy team this year. He is a great, great player. And G-Man says, by the way, what's up, Luke? I'm friends with Kobe Prentice's mom. Hey, G-Man, if you have anything to add, I would certainly love to hear it right now. But I'll keep talking in the meantime. But, oh gosh, where the heck was I? Just talking about Kevin Concepcion. That's where I was. So G-Man says, you would not believe stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Well, G-Man, look, find me on Twitter and DM me, bro. I'd love to hear from you. At LS Robinson21. At LS Robinson21. But so Kevin Concepcion back there, would love to have a shot at him. This, again, from NC State. He didn't have the best year ever, but he's got all kind of potential. Now, there's a kid at Texas Tech named Micah Hudson, who was a 5-star last year. He's in the portal. There's been rumors of the Branch kid from USC getting in the portal. I don't know that has happened yet. I haven't seen it, but I would certainly be very interested if he would. If he were interested in Alabama. I think he is a fantastic player. And, Alabama's going to need some more dynamic players. Look, the thing about Caleb Odom I was hoping for was he was going to be that the tall receiver that you can throw a jump ball, 50-50 ball, or in his case, 75-25 ball in the end zone. And that just never developed. In fact, I go back to the Tennessee game. We did it twice with Ryan Williams. Once was a touchdown, once was an interception in the end zone. And all I could think was, boy, I really would have loved to have thrown that to Caleb Odom and just see what he could do. Because he's much taller than Williams, even though this is a Ryan Williams podcast. Anybody who watches this knows that. So Derek Meadows, as somebody just pointed out, Derek Meadows could be that guy now. But let's also call a spade a spade. Derek Meadows' stats in high school aren't eye-popping. So it's not like he comes in as a seasoned veteran. He is a little bit more of a project, but boy, there's a lot to work with this project. So yeah, he's fantastic. Now, Tim Richardson just asked, will we go after DL Collins as transfer from Florida? Kelby Collins, originally from Alabama. He from the state of Alabama. Yes, I do believe that Alabama will go after him. I wouldn't be shocked if he were to transfer to Alabama. In fact, I would favor Alabama at the moment. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's where he's going to be. But I was looking forward to talking about him. He is a really good player. I think he would help Alabama a lot along the defensive line. Very, very happy about that. So if Kelby Collins were to come over here from Florida, super fired up, you get somebody like the Concepcion kid. Because I just don't want to say Concepcion because I feel so pompous when I say it like that. Or maybe if Brooks or Meadows can come in ready to play, or God forbid, both of them. Lots and lots to dissect here. There are going to be a lot more people hitting that portal too, y'all. That's the thing. There's going to be a lot more portal exits before we start adding people. So everybody needs to be ready for that. It's just going to be part of the game from this point forward. People are going to get in and test the waters. People are going to want to find out what their market value is. And this is going to be something that just happens every single year. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't like it at all. It is very difficult as somebody who runs a podcast to forecast the future when you have no idea what the future is going to be one day to the next. You don't know how many people are going to opt out of this bowl game. That's going to be, again, we just found out, so we don't, but we may not know for a little bit, right? And I don't like the way this sport is postured right now. That being said, I want to finish up, and this is just going to be a quick 2-segment pod. I just wanted to address a few of these things. I want to finish up. I want to be clear about this because, again, some folks have said over and over again, Alabama's crying and blah, blah, blah. I'm not crying that Alabama didn't get in the playoffs. I'll tell you right now, Alabama didn't deserve it. I think two of the teams at least, maybe 3 or 4 of the teams that got in didn't deserve it either. But if you're going to give it to undeserving teams, I was hoping they'd give it to my undeserving team. And that's what I've continued to say. And people want to say that's crying. Okay, if you think it's crying, so be it. I tend to look at it like, hey, I'm a fan first and foremost. Of course, I want my team to get in. I'm also trying to be very objective here and say that this Alabama team didn't really deserve to play for a national championship. But Jimmy and I have been saying all along that you're going to get undeserving teams playing for titles if you expand this playoffs, which they did, and that is not changing. And if anything, it's going to go the other direction. So my point is, if you're going to give it to a team that you don't feel like is worthy, I just hope it's my unworthy team. That's all, and that's the fan part of me. So, yes, the Oklahoma loss was ugly. The Oklahoma loss is worse than the Vandy loss. I mean, that's one that should haunt us. There is no doubt about that. It should haunt us for years. That cost us a ton. Here's the other thing. The SEC fans just dancing for glee that, ding dong, the witch is dead in Alabama. Alabama not getting in costs y'all money, right? You want more SEC teams in this thing so that we get all the money. But the other thing that may happen, and much like the 2004 BCS where Auburn was excluded, may have spurred an expansion. I think that this may spur some changes too about the buys, about the seeding, about possibly expansion, about maybe just in the end 2 big power conferences, which is essentially what we have right now. We don't have a power 4. We have a power 2, a mediocre 2, and then the group of 5. That's what we've got. So I think the Big Ten and SEC are going to look at this and go, we don't want to be splitting any money with an SMU team that played nobody. We want to be splitting money with a Clemson team that lost to 2 SEC teams and also lost at home to Louisville and got in with 3 losses when you have teams with much better resumes sitting at home. I don't think the SEC and Big Ten are going to put up with that for very long, because next time, while it was the SEC this year, next year it may be the Big Ten that gets shafted. So who knows? We'll see. But regardless, that's going to do it for this very short podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Just wanted to get in here and talk about this. So much going on. I was like, I just feel like I got to get some of this off my chest. So I appreciate you guys a ton for chiming in. Appreciate you always listening. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, and we will talk tomorrow. Jimmy will be back then. And until then, roll tide, everybody.